to do the whole child thing, and especially based on what our current medical system says, that at age 36, now your advanced age for becoming a mother, really, then you start going into like this special test and everything, because your body is like too old to get pregnant and that kind of thing, which is just, you're 36 for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's still quite young.
It is quite young, but in that mindset, it's like, oh my God, I'm so old, all my friends are married and they have teenagers by now, and all that self-talk. And so it was forcing a relationship with, wow, I can make this happen because this person said this and we can promise each other. But then I started really looking at all those health issues, and it was really about being out of sync. The soul cord in the relationship just honestly wasn't there. So then the old way was that suck it up, and you kind of just say, well, illness happens. Oh, so-and-so gets sick. Oh yeah, at this point they had this, and then that's the natural part of it, and oh, then you have, I'm not knocking support groups, but there are, that's just been the traditional way prior to this awakening.
Okay, so let's
state.
talk about, just real quick, about support groups. So glad they're there, helps many people, but one of the things I learned was simply with my group is I will listen to you, I will give you answers, but I will not support you or enable you to stay in your house.
Right, and that's the difference. But yes, those support groups are there when there's nothing. Those are those first steps, and those are very important steps to be taking. But then the option of divorce, and what does that mean? And the idea of, I have people in my world who are, contemplating and that kind of thing. And then they hear those inner voices that say, well, you're quitting. You're giving up.
Now, you remember, that's a reflection or projection of her aspect of herself that her soul wants her to hear, that needs to, she needs to see how much power did she lose when people would say that.
Right.
And but that really was just her.
Yeah, so that is an option. And if the other person is not a willing participant, how much are you going to take before your whole body breaks down?
Exactly.
And so, I know there was a reason why, and I just...
Oh, I love that book.
I realized, hey, it was given to us. Maybe I should put it out on here on our shelves, because I looked at it.
I never looked at it yet.
This is written, it's a poetic journey, writing for my life, reclaiming the lost pieces of me, and it's by Nancy Levine. And we went to a writers' conference, and she's just an awesome person. And so she went through the process of divorce, and that was after a huge wake-up call. And we get those wake-up calls. But it is divorce, and some people, well, in the process, former family members saying, well, you're so good at, walking away, how is that growth if you're just going to walk away? Well, oh man, there's just so much to it. It's transforming that group consciousness.
Well, that's, when you think about considering the source, it was part of how you grew up, of your correction process. And so you had to hear this in the adult so that you can say, wait a minute, am I doing right or wrong? And it's fighting with that little voice, that inner voice, which is the child voice.
So yeah, the other, and so what's been amazing is to watch you and your partner go through that growth and healing process, which is an option.
It is.
The person who's willing to just go there. But then it's recognizing if it's done, and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's all these different choices, and I knew I was part of that catalog for you. Now, here's an interesting thing: the walk away point. There's a lot of things that need to be unlearned. Like, what you can always tell, make sure everybody looks you in the eye to make sure they're telling you the truth. Well, that I don't believe anymore, because I'm a kinesthetic. A kinesthetic, which there's auditory, kinesthetic, a digital, and a visual. As a kinesthetic, what will happen is that I will immediately start making chemical peptides based on what's going on with you, and I can get lost in what your issue is, or lost in understanding your side, that I've lost my voice for me. And here's the hard part. If you take a kinesthetic and you have a kinesthetic stare at you, and they're supposed to talk, what will happen is you will lose that voice. It has nothing to do whether they're lying or not. It's just that their tendency is to communicate with their environment through the feelers of being a kinesthetic. You create chemical peptides, and you literally lose who you are. Now, I've learned to heal and create healthy boundaries so that when I stare at people, I don't have to lose that part of myself. And so that's pretty important to understand. Walking away is another thing where people say walking away is wrong. And again, it's about the right and wrong factor. I have to walk away, or I don't have a filter. Take autistics, okay? I like Carly Fleshman, and one of the things that I learned from her is that you have to build up filters, and if you can't, you're going to have to disengage. Well, when it gets too much, when the musical note, which is just harmony of whatever it is, like I have problems with C and B. If somebody has too much C and B in their body, and then they're throwing that at me, I literally do not have a filter to comprehend that. And so literally I will feel like I'm going crazy. My brain will start being good, and it's like the water molecules are getting destructive. We were talking about sound on Friday about that, and simply my vibration of the water molecules, I could feel them change. What happened to me is it created a pain. Now, it's the different pain. It's not physical pain. It can be more of a mental or emotional or spiritual pain, but it hurts just the same. And if it gets too much and it pushes the button too much, the water molecules just go crazy, which can cause a destructive process inside your brain, which then, if there's anything going on with your brain where you're getting like we talk about hammer hertz too, but if you get a mark on your brain, it then tells the corresponding body part to not dysfunction properly either. So literally, I have to walk away because there's too many chemical peptides. I'm picking up theirs, I'm picking up mine. The water molecules are going crazy. I literally can get sick right on the spot. And I have learned that the only way that I can calm the molecules down is to walk away. If I can't walk away, I will put my hand on my forehead so that the blood will rush up, so that it'll help cleanse and cleanse and get rid of some of those excess chemical peptides. But normally, it's like I have to walk away. So some of these things that we were taught that is the right and wrong, I'm sorry, the world ain't flat anymore. You have to understand that certain things have to evolve and be upgraded. Now, I would like to point out something, and that is physical parts, physical body parts, when they're upset, it is, like Jen says, the way your soul language is speaking. If you are not participating with what your soul is saying, and you have a physical reaction that's occurring, it's important to understand that there is a body part that is actually speaking, and it has designated emotions, thought patterns, and belief systems in it. So the first part of your journey with your ex was simply the female part. Was it strictly the uterus, or where was it specifically?
In the female part, it was the cervix.
Okay, so that's different than, I gotta look this up, cervix. And it's important to understand that
I'm glad I can share my journey.
Hey, I share all of mine. But people need to understand that sometimes we have to be the catalog, and we have to be
willing to share.
Yeah, because how else will somebody learn?
Right.
We're showing that life represents what?
Right, so I had to have a procedure to take care of.
And now she's all better, amen. But
amen. Okay,
cervix. Okay, I know how to spell it, so just give me a second to find the right page. So, see, now it jumps. Look at that. Oh, I'm looking right at it. Well, we don't want that one off.
No.
Oh, there's a lot here. Okay, so I'm going to take this one because it has the one word we were looking at, right here?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so the cervix, the key word is self-suppression. Okay, this is one way. They feel that it's not safe for them to manifest their creativity or, what's that word?
Generativity.
They fear rejection, abandonment, and attack.
It's interesting because that was the first one to go, and that's exactly what was happening in time-wise.
Okay.
What was happening with the new relationship, and it was like, Time-wise, that was probably a year and a half into the relationship.
So basically, the self-suppression was taking that core piece that is your authenticity and you suppressed it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is very unhealthy, by the way.
In order to fit in, to realize, okay, I have to, if I'm going to be in this relationship and he's saying this, then yeah, that's what I need to do. I want to fit into his world and have him accept me. And so in order to do that, and he's not willing to give up parts of himself because of that personality,
right.
then that's what I was willing to do.
This is what people are calling compromise. And that you're supposed to compromise in a relationship. I'm sorry. If you're in sync, you won't need to compromise.
Right.
When you're out of sync, it is just your sign of your soul that says you need to grow, or you need to heal, or you need closure, something. But if you're out of sync, there's something else that needs to be done. Instead, we say, oh, we need a compromise. Mm-hmm. And if you're in sync, you'll learn how to weave in and out of what needs to be. The second one of what cervix problems is self-belittling. Okay, they are hassled with worries over not being good enough. Okay, so you need to say yes because they don't see your head nod. Okay, along with self-denigration.
YouTube, they'll see me grin and nod, but they don't see that on the radio.
No,
correct.
Along with self-denigration and self-disgust. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they don't trust their feminine receptivity, and they won't surrender to themselves. They have fear of many things. So especially never being good enough. That's about right?
That's about right.
So as part of compromising and self-suppression, you had to say, what the hell am I doing wrong? And then turn around and just blame yourself, denigrate yourself, and not like yourself.
Right.
And here's a great one. I like this one. Tripod rage.
OMG.
Tripod rage. They are operating out of intense, irresistible impulse to kick anyone with 3 legs. How was it back then, Jen?
That was hilarious. Being raised by a feminist, that makes sense.
So at that time when that was happening, did you want to kick your husband?
Often.
Often. Oh my God, okay, that's funny.
Okay,
so there's... Yeah, we haven't got to that part. All right, so what we're going to do is that you had tubular pregnancy?
Well, the next thing you had was here, and that was the next part of the... That was the next part.
Was it next?
So that was when I went into selling insurance, which was about the 9th realm of hell for me.
Okay,
and that was to make money, so that the initial part we were still living with his parents, and then this next part we had a house, and then we were going to go strike it out on our own, and because of my job I needed to make more money, so I took a second job, and that was that.
True, and what you had to cut out of your life was your spirituality, me, the group, your family over here.
Right, that was actually nourishing. I had to cut that out of my life.
Yeah, and it was... I'm glad she pointed out. It was nourishment. This was her nourishment. Even if he didn't understand it and he thinks it's a bunch of hogwash, for her soul, it was nourishment. Now, here is the first thing it says.
Because you saw me calling in, I was not diagnosed with uterine cancer, but because of when I came back into your world, and because of the way that we read energy and what was going on,
she walked through my door and stood right in front of me. And normally I don't say anything about what I usually see on that depths because it usually means that they're, but I knew her already. And I said, oh, hell no, you are not going there. And I got right into her face, and I didn't mean to get in there, but I think her spirit guides wanted me to really emphasize the fact that, do you understand, by going down the road that you hate, you're calling in something so your body will start decaying, and then you'll either die off the planet or you're going to find some reason to be sick so that you'll then stop having to work. I says you need to have the courage to stand up and say no to cancer and no to what you're being told that you have to do.
Right.
And that was a toughie, but you did it.
Right. It was kind of funny the way that it played out, and he said, okay, and because at that point I still kind of needed permission on a certain level, and he said, okay, if you want to force us into living in a box underneath the freeway, then go ahead. And I said, that was a yes.
She got permission.
I got permission, so I could say I quit.